let me switch gears again with you because I really want to hear what you have to say on this. And these are not rhetorical questions. I so admire the way your brain works. It seems to me that one of the throw the baby out with the bathwater things that our side has done, and I always feel that if you want to get anything done, you have to look at the weaknesses in your
Yeah.
own camp. Um, Justifiably so, there's been a concentration on race, gender, and so forth. My last guest on here was Keith Boykin, who's just written this book, Why Does Everything Have to Be About Race? And I love his book, and it has to always be about race because, hey, this is a real deal. We can't just get past it. That said, it seems to me that especially younger people I talk to seem to have a problem understanding that all we've got that gives us our sense of rights anyway came out of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. And yes, I'm sorry, these were old white guys, some of whom, like Jefferson, were slaveholders and awful.
Right.
But we're on this planet.
Yeah.
And where would you rather
we're
be?
interested, however much they, the vision was and the execution was flawed, we're interested in self-governance and,
Right.
we're creating the foundations for the idea of moving beyond, monarchy and, and really putting in place a version, maybe the best we've had of what we, the people, actually can be.
Yeah, and the fact that some of them were hypocrites doesn't take away from the aspiration that we can borrow from them and say, too bad they never lived according to what they believed or preached to others. But could you, talk about the fact that right now, in my estimation anyway, we haven't come up with any better ideas that if you want a multicultural society and it isn't based on egalitarian principles that came out of the Enlightenment and the Renaissance, hey, the Medici were tyrants in their own way, but they did back Galileo against the church. Voltaire and the French Enlightenment philosophers were a bunch of hypocrites. And some of them, like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, were, excuse the French, assholes.
Right.
But that said, this is what we got. And so if it's all basically, now we can't even talk about anybody except in terms of oppressed and oppressor, and we're the oppressors. And so I don't see
in that climate, we're all guilty, right? I mean,
how are we going to build a new world based on throwing away all the best ideas from the past just because some of those people were hypocrites, or most of them were, but they're still good ideas? What else have we got? I made a little speech here, but I want your reaction.
Yeah, well, look, the history of colonialism is a real thing. You can go back to the Papal Bull that was enacted just before Christopher Columbus, or right around the time that Christopher Columbus came to the New World. Well, we talk about his discovery of the New World. In fact, the Papal Bull gave him and others the opportunity to plunder the New World, right? To go and get everything you can for the benefit of Spain and the colonial powers. So I mean, that's, there's a reason why Christopher Columbus is in many circles maybe less of a hero than he used to be. But look, it isn't hard to look at a history of America that is about the genocide of Native Americans and the implementation of slavery as a system to build an economy and build the country, and the people who signed the Declaration of Independence who were involved in all that. I mean, that is the history of the country that we all have to acknowledge. But what's also true is that that the effort to try to create a better world, to bend the arc of history towards justice, I think that's been real. I mean, the formation of the Department of Justice happened, right during Reconstruction under Ulysses S. Grant, and specifically because of the rise of the terrorism of the Ku Klux Klan that was doing what they could to murder the emergence of Black leaders and to intimidate, scare, Black voters from participating in the democratic process. So, these issues have been playing out for a very long time, but, whether that's our history or not doesn't mean you sort of turn away from it. I mean, we have a problem with a lot of young people who are increasingly doubtful about the value of democracy. And that's not just, in the last 5 or 10 years, that's
Sure.
been going on for decades, the sort of waning power of democracy's narrative to motivate people to believe that this is the form of government that's going to give them a better life. So as that's waned, it's created the environment for autocrats and let's just say all the sort of anti-democratic authoritarian types to offer a different picture that sounds like I alone can fix it. We can take care of the problem in Ukraine in a day. All of the suggestions that our complex, uncertain, overwhelming world can be fixed by this authoritarian move is something that does find some welcoming ears even in amongst the anti-colonialists, because they doubt that democracy is the path forward. So we're living in that sense, I think, in a very volatile time, which I think makes the work that you do and the work that I do and all of us who are trying to advocate for a progressive and positive future, and it just makes in my view, the work so necessary.